Welcome back to the TEHNC podcast. TEHNC is The Emperor Has No Clothes, which is an ancient parable about our inability to see the truth right in front of us despite the evidence. And there are many reasons why we can't see the truth, but sometimes we just can't see it. But in this case, I wasn't going to do another podcast so quickly after my last one, but the one about the Verge merger with Pornhub, how Pornhub is now taking the cryptocurrency Verge, which is a privacy coin, and how it could be a major thing. And I talked a little bit then about how privacy and financial privacy were really important, and it's very soon we'll discover that separation of commerce and state is going to be seen as a really important first principle, that the state doesn't have to be involved in everything. And we now see again a reason for that. In the last podcast, I talked about the famous WikiLeaks embargo, where WikiLeaks back in 2010 started publishing really big releases of U.S. military documents and cables from the Iraq War log and State Department logs and the collateral murder video. And at that time, the U.S. government really got upset and decided to destroy WikiLeaks and eliminate them from the global financial system. And in order to do that, they basically made a phone call to Visa and MasterCard and PayPal and others. And those guys all just cut WikiLeaks off of the global financial system, at which time, as I said in my last podcast, Julian Assange said, "We now know that Visa and MasterCard are agents of U.S. foreign policy. We did not know that before." So that was something that we learned from that event, and a lot of people got into cryptocurrency because of that, because it presents us the possibility of a financial system that is not able to be controlled by governments anywhere on Earth. And what we have now, of course, is a system where we have the main banks and financial system, which are controlled. So they have to, they're signatories to all the financial regulations. They have to do what the government says. If the government says, we want you to freeze this person's account, they have to do it. So if you have your money in a bank, it's not your money. They have your money. You just have to ask them for it, and usually they'll give it to you unless they're told not to. The reason this all came up again is because Coinbase just did us all a very big favor. To those of you who don't know, Coinbase is one of the largest exchanges, cryptocurrency exchange in the United States, but they're also, maybe even the only one now, but certainly the biggest one, where you can connect your bank account to it and actually get fiat currency, which is what dollars are. You can get your dollars, convert them into Bitcoin or Ethereum and trade cryptocurrencies, and then you can extract them as US dollars when you're done. You can't do that in most places. There's still that choke point, and the banks are not making it easy to do that, but Coinbase is the one that you can do that with. Of course, as a result of that, Coinbase had to sign all of the financial regulation rules and regulations and paperwork and all that kind of stuff, which means that somebody told them to cut off WikiLeaks once again. But not even WikiLeaks, the WikiLeaks store. The WikiLeaks store is a Canadian company that licenses WikiLeaks logos and sells it on t-shirts and sweatshirts and things like that as a way to raise money for WikiLeaks. So obviously they're raising money and it's going to WikiLeaks, and the US government doesn't like that and decided we want to destroy this journalism organization no matter what, because they do effective journalism, much more effective than the New York Times and the Washington Post. They actually release true information that's in the public interest, and that's all they've ever done for the last 10 years. They've never released anything fake. They have a perfect publishing record, but the US government decided to destroy them. And now Coinbase, and we can now say, I'll paraphrase Julian Assange, we now know that Coinbase is an element of U.S. foreign policy. We did not know that before. So thank you, Coinbase, for telling us this. Also, fuck you, Coinbase. So I recommend you boycott Coinbase and support WikiLeaks any way you can. In case you don't know, Julian Assange, the publisher of WikiLeaks, has been holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy for 6 years under threat of being arrested and deported to the U.S., where he could disappear into a black site cell, because the largest grand jury in history has been going on against WikiLeaks, even though, as I say, they're just a publisher. And meanwhile, his health is failing. He can't get a doctor. He can't leave the embassy to actually get the medical care he needs. So they're essentially trying to kill him by keeping him in the embassy. And now Ecuador just cut him off from all internet access. He has no ability to communicate with the outside world. He's not allowed to have visitors except his lawyers. So Ecuador, even though they gave him citizenship, he has an Ecuadorian passport. I think he even has a diplomatic passport, and yet Ecuador has violated his rights as an Ecuadorian citizen by doing that as well. So there's a major global concerted war on WikiLeaks to lie about their connection, their alleged connection to Russia, which they have none, and other things like that. But anyway, it should tell you something that Coinbase is now part of that system to destroy WikiLeaks, but also more broadly an agent of U.S. foreign policy. So thank you, Coinbase. Fuck you, Coinbase. I'll see you the next time.